Welcome to the video edition of The Fourth Curtain, featuring this week's interview. Catch the extended audio version with Alex and Aaron's commentary wherever you get your podcasts. On with the show.
Welcome to the program, friends. This week we are so lucky to be joined by Jenova Chen, the co-founder, CEO, and creative director of That Game Company. Jenova is the OG designer of the most vibey of games, Cloud, Flow, my personal favorite, Journey. Man, I remember when Journey came out. Aaron, did you play Journey?
Of course I did. I was going to make the joke, which game company? But I'm sure you hear that all the time. It's like, don't do it.
Okay.
Journey was monumental, man. Everyone in the studio was talking about it.
It was it kind of was a meme before memes were a thing, I think. I don't know. But let's see. Operating 2019's iPhone Game of the Year, Sky Children of the Light, which is Sky on every platform now?
Except for Xbox.
Oh, okay. Sounds like there's a story there. Very cool. He's got a BAFTA. And in 2022, his company raised $160 million in venture finance. Was that all venture financing, the $160 million raise?
There's a pro rata from
from a previous round. Okay. Ed Catmull is on your board. I like many people, big fan. Read his book, super inspiring. And you've got an amazing backstory. Jenova, welcome to the show. Great to meet you.
Welcome to the show.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I read that you went to USC, and were you part of like the very first group of students to go through the game program there?
Yeah,
can I ask a quick interruption?
Second year. Yes. Yeah.
Are you in LA right now? Sorry, I just want to know. Are you in California?
I'm in Bellevue.
Bellevue, Washington. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Washington. Seattle. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I totally interrupted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What was that? Are you gonna send over? Are you like gonna DoorDash him some food or something?
No. Because you said BAFTA, and I can't stop thinking about the BAFTA, and then you brought up USC, and it's like, where is this guy? All right, that's all I want.
Okay.
Sorry.
There is a very strong BAFTA organization in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, even though it's from the UK, but yeah. I went to the USC. Initially applied for animation, hoping I can get a job at Pixar. And USC was, the film school is at the edge of pushing for telling story using new technology. And so they started this program called Interactive Media Division in 2002. So when I joined school in 2003, I'm technically the second year, but the first year there's only 6 students, and there are more professors than students in that department.
Oh, wow.
And there must have been some of the professors back then, I'm guessing, were folks out of the industry. Do you remember?
None of them are gaming. There's like Mark Bolus, who's from like Reality Labs, so Oculus. That was
the original Oculus. Okay, yeah.
Yes, the department chair Scott Fisher. He was like the first person who did the head-mount displays and stuff in NASA.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so at the time, interactive media is like anything you do that's interactive that tells stories. So people think mostly about like theme parks, website, mobile applications. Nobody thought about games. And so after I joined the department, there was no gaming focus. And 2003 is the year the school is thinking about entering gaming. So I was lucky that the school just took all the students, which is less than 15, to San Francisco for Game Developer Conference. And also it was the same year. Don Matrick at the time was the CEO of Electronic Arts, visited school and considering if they want to essentially donate to the school. And during that time, we as the students were asked to prepare some video game projects to show the head of EA, right? And so that was the first time I realized that actually video games, I worked on some games while I was in college, could actually be a meaningful career because where I grew up, my parents always say, "Hey, games are bad for you. It's
Yeah.
people get addicted to it, and you guys fail at your school." I mean, they do. I see a lot of my classmates getting addicted to games, and they change from like the top students from the country, from the cities, joining the elite school, and as soon as they start playing game, they get expelled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I feel particularly guilty because I introduced these games to them.
Like
So-
Counter-Strike and things like this, or what games?
No, like Diablo, like
Okay.
things with
I
skin
could
and
see.
box
I
built
could
in.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how you
and-
get ahead in the world, right? You hand your friends the most addicting video games you can find.
You're knocking
and then
them out of competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see how it is. Okay.
I've seen literally people who get addicted that they don't even have a computer in the dorm. I do, and so they say, "All right, I know once in the night you come back from the library, you will play the game. So we'll let you play, but if you go to sleep, can I play a game on your computer?" So I would go to sleep on the bunker bed, and my computer is right below my bed. So my roommate would play for the whole night. And so the next morning he wouldn't go to the class.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I grew up playing games, so I had enough of them. So I'm not going to be addicted to particular one game, but I've seen some of my roommates who really lost it.
Well, my
Anyway,
son
that's
is
a side subject.
my son is in college right now. He's a second year in college, and if you're listening, Owen, don't stay up all night playing the games. You heard it right here. Yeah.
My kids do. My daughter hides her 3DS in the bed. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you said a little bit about growing up. Your parents didn't want you to play games that much, and I think you grew up in where did you grow up? You grew up in China.
I grew up in Shanghai.
In Shanghai.
Yeah.
I've been to Shanghai once. An amazing city. When I was there, I was really struck by how the energy of, like, we went out at night and there was all these the younger generation. They were coming up, like, all interested in starting like entrepreneurship. It was just had such an energy.
Yeah.
Was it like that when you were growing up, or is that more recent?
No. Where I grew up, I have not known a single person in my family or friend circle that have ever started a company.
Okay.
There was no entrepreneurial environment back in the time I grew up there. So I came to the United States in 2003. That's when I would say the economic boom in China just started. I think in the 3 years I finished my master degree at USC, the real estate price has went up 10 times.
Oh, wow.
It's the biggest economic revolution ever happened in human history. I missed out.
But so what was it like when you were there growing up? I mean, did you have a computer in the house? Were video games popular?
Yeah, I think I was pretty lucky that my dad is at the time working. When the computer first came up, it's as big as a room. The first big room computer went into China, went to this shipyard. So my dad at the time was a plumber at the shipyard. There's Cultural Revolution, so even though he graduated from Beijing University, which is like the Harvard in China, all the scholars and intellectuals are forced to do like low-level labor. So he was a plumber and electricians in the shipyard. And they were like, "We don't know how to install this computer. Like, get some kids who's smart to figure that out. So my dad was very lucky to be one of those first people like learning how to set up computers. So he really believed that the future is computer. So at a very young age, I think it was 10. I love drawing, I love painting, I love art. But he was like, art's gonna get you nowhere. You couldn't even feed yourself. You're gonna be begging on the street. Come here, learn the computer thing, you know. And so I was like, I was really frustrated because I love painting, right? So I don't want to leave the art school. Technically, they are like just you know, after school curriculum, right?
Right.
And so I just remember I was dragged into this computer class, and with all the anger. But as soon as I went in the classroom, it's like people are playing like the computer like yours in the back, on the monochromatic Apple displays. I think the game looked like a Pitfall, but like much earlier version. It's like the first generation Pitfall game. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And so from that point on, every day I'm like going to the computer school early because you get to play games before the class starts. So because of that, I was able to learn programming, at 10 years old, much earlier than anybody I know at the time.
So this was like middle school, grade school for you.
10 years old is like
10 years old.
grade.
Yeah.
So fourth grade. And
how are the schools? I was going to ask, like, education in the system in China, is it similar to how it is here, where you do like a grade school, then a high school, and then university?
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar. Yeah. We have a middle school that is separate, but it's first grade to sixth grade is elementary.
Got it.
And then we got 3 years middle school, then 3-year high school. So I studied the programming probably 5 years earlier than any kids in China. So it gives me tremendous advantage to compete with them in coding. But it was never my passion. My passion is playing video games and make art. But looking back, this combination of learning how to code and at a very young age, I can code, but I also like art. So these two really gave me a strong foundation to make games. And plus, I've been playing games earlier than most of the kids because I have a computer earlier. I think I'm probably the most well-read person in terms of playing games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you grew up on a ton of games, so you're super well versed. What were some of your favorites?
I guess I'm a lot of people say, "Hey, what's your favorite game?" But it's difficult for me because I just have memories. So if I look back, what I remember, right? It's not the most advanced Final Fantasy like 16 or whatever, right? It's the early ones. It's the first ones you really encountered. I think my earliest memory of gaming, I remember playing Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah.
Right, the first game people roller scoped animation. It's almost like lifelike. I was really interested in that game. Certainly died a lot. Gruesome deaths. Prince of Persia. That's what left in my mind. Right, it's like the first action platform game that really gave me some goosebumps. Right, and then the first strategy games to me is not Command & Conquer. Command & Conquer also left a strong impression in me, but for other reasons. But it's Dune 2000, I think.
Yeah, the precursor
RTS game.
I was in that game with my cousins the whole time, feeling like I'm a general. I can, control the army. And then the first really scary game for me is not Wolfenstein. It's not Doom. It was Resident Evil.
Ooh, that's a good. That's my favorite game.
Was scary.
What did you play it on? PlayStation?
Yeah, on the PC. So PC. China has no consoles. So I have a very it's one-sided. I'm only playing PC games. Wow. Right? We have no Nintendo, no PlayStation, no. I think we had Saturn if you smuggle it. Like one of the richest kids in my class have a Saturn. I was like, God, I hope I have Saturn. All the games shipping from Japan. I only have my computer, so I have to look for like emulators or yeah. Anyway, so what I remember, what my favorite is the first time I feel something really, really strong. Yeah, and that just burns in your memory. And to me, the games that really stays with me are the game that really push the boundary and really reinvent, like open up new genres in the game. Certainly.
Yeah.
First MMO I played was EverQuest. I didn't play Ultimate Online because it was not available in China at the time. So EverQuest is my first MMO.
Was it official? Was it official in China? Yeah.
Yeah, I have so many vivid memories of EverQuest even today. From 25 years ago.
Hey, when you're playing these games growing up in China, I'm assuming that they're in English.
Yes. So
oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I played Final Fantasy VII. I think 5 years after it was released. And it was all in English. I still don't understand 75% of
it. Neither do I. And I was
going to say nobody does.
I tried to play Baldur's Gate. That was very difficult. Difficult. Yeah. I was like, what's the fun of this game? Just clicking through text.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
So you don't think you're going to get into games at this time, right? You're going to be an animator.
I thought that was a guilty pleasure. It's like, in China we call it gambling, pornography, and the drugs, right? So that's the typical the vice of the world.
Vices, yes.
Yeah, and my parents see gaming as gambling. I mean, Diablo and a lot of games have Skinner box in it. It's like adjacent,
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Like that point of view, and also we were talking about being in college and worried about gaming addiction and impact on grades and trajectory and all that. Do you still feel that way, or?
I literally see two of my roommates. They were the elite kids from their countryside. They worked so hard to get into the best school, right? And then I ruined their life. So I know for sure they do damage. And if you study game design, you would learn about random number generator impact, right? Skinner box would work on any mammals, and for human beings, 2% of human beings are not. Their genes are not resistant to these type of random chance, the hype, the dopamine hit. And it's the same group of people that Las Vegas keep, reaching out, incentivize them to come back, anyway. We have weakness in our genes.
It seems like it's really bugging you. Are you doing anything now to counter that, with your game designs?
None of my game has any of these random chance, not to mention these days gacha games, right? You actually literally pay for a random job. I think Diablo, I can still say morally I can accept it, because ultimately you just spend more time, right? You're not giving your life saving to a game. But once you change that to gacha, it's really close to gambling. And I know right now the government doesn't do anything about it, but from my perspective, it's basically gambling.
You're paying for a chance reward. That's
a reward. A reward you can sell in secondhand market, and also a reward that you can actually value psychologically the same as if you got something in the real world. Because a lot of these kids who are spending most of their time in online world, the social value of those virtual goods are more higher than the real. If you buy a hat, how many people is going to see it? right?
Right.
So yeah, psychologically, it's basically the same. And then we know there are other companies that has they will say, yeah, all these things are virtual currency. Nobody's taking any money out of this place, right? But then there's a second app where you can trade your accounts.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you lean into then with your game? Like what is king for you? Because like Alec, we've worked in like gotcha type systems, and that can kind of become the most important thing in a game, that drive revenue. So what do you lean into?
does.
Story, gameplay? What do you think is
Yeah, so just among us, we are all game industry people. Like I talked to many of my friends who are CEOs of their company. They told me if they switch on gacha, revenue up 4 to 5 times. If you switch off, it's just less, right? And a lot of people says, well, I asked them, I said, look, this is basically gambling. You work in the industry, you know what its effect, right? Why are you turning it on? He said, well, everybody else turned that on. If I don't turn it on, I couldn't even get users. If the government comes out to do something, I'm happy to turn it off. But otherwise, to survive, I have to keep this thing on. That's the state of the industry. But at the same time, that's not why I got into gaming. That's the gaming that I was always ashamed of, right? I think my parents would never be happy if I'm running a casino, right? So what really made me feel that the game industry actually is an honorable, respectful industry is when I first attended GDC. Again, first time in life, it hits you hard. So at the San Francisco, I attended the Game Developer Conference, the Game Developer Awards. And I saw some of my favorite game win the awards. And I saw the developer went up stage. Some of that get standing ovation. And they're thanking their family, they're thanking their parents, just like Oscar, right? I think I respect them more than the Oscar, because Oscar is just a bunch of actors, celebrities, but these are the people behind my favorite games, and seeing them on there and seeing the people cheering for them, that's the moment I realized, oh, game industry isn't just a gambling industry. Yeah, and I see these people, some of them cried on the stage, and that really changed how I feel about this whole industry. And that's the moment I realized I could pursue this path, and I think my parents would be proud if I'm on there. So yeah, that's really kind of, to me, is like a switch. I was like, okay, well, I realized I actually played a lot of games and made games in college, and I saw what other kids are making at GDC. There's like a student awards. I was like, I thought everybody's like John Carmack in the United States. I don't have a chance. But once I see other students' game, I was like, my game is better. So, so that's why I was like, maybe I should try to make a game for the student competition. At the time, myself and basically there's this new student, like he is 1 year behind me, called Nick Nelson. Rick Nelson. And so the two of us were talking like, hey, we could make better games. But I was like, I have no money. Like, how am I supposed to like find time to make this? I need to go get a job in a library because I have to make tuitions, right? So Rick said, hey, let's just go to pitch to the school and ask the school to pay us to make games.
That's a good
and
idea.
That was really a brilliant idea. I would never thought about it. So we went to the school. We say, look, we can make games better than these student games. If you pay us the library fees, we'll stay here the entire summer during the summer break, and we're going to make a game that's going to get into these competitions, and school's going to free press. And the school did give us the money. And so
Genius.
Six of us work in a library in a basement for a whole summer. We never left there. And the game actually won the student awards. And that became the game later when Dalmetric came to the USC, he played that game, right? Like we think this game was actually pretty cool. And then afterwards, there's $8 million donation from EA to the USC program, which they started Game Innovation Labs, Game Innovation Grant.
That's right.
And so then my next game, Cloud, won the Game Innovation Grant. So we get to make a game that is the opposite of Grand Theft Auto. The school is very progressive. So they, 2004, 2005 is the year when Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was like the best game, right? And so there's also the Columbine shooting. At the time, the Congress was grilling, video game industries like, hey, how did you teach our kids how to shoot guns and throw grenades, right? And that's the time where Game Innovation Grant was like, can we make games that's the opposite of Grand Theft Auto, right? That represents, that's not at the time what the mass media is attacking game industry on. Like, I just remember the moment I came to the United States. I love games, right? I just got hope that this is an industry that could be respected. Then the whole media is blaming video game as some kind of toxic thing. And so I feel pretty strongly like we can change video games image, right? We could make something positive that's not addicting, that's not violent, that's not stressful, right? And it could be, still engaging. It could tell us wonderful story to heal people, to touch people, and it doesn't require you to play for thousands of hours. And so we made this little game that's more like a little storybook or like a poetry. But to my surprise, this game brought me a $4,000 fine because there's too many people downloading on my website. At the time, I was struggling on the line of paying my next year's tuition. So when I see the fine, I was crying. I was like asking the school to help me out on the fine because it's a game that I'm hosting on my personal website, right? And then we put the cloud game on the school server at the USC, the cinema school server, and the cinema school website is down. And then we have to call EA, say, do you have anything like that can host like a large traffic? Because at the time, I think we had 600,000 downloads for this little zip file we made.
Oh, that's cool.
The student game. It was crazy. And then I started to receive all these emails around the world, people from Japan, Australia, London. They're saying something like, please tell everybody who worked on this project, you're beautiful people. And that was really shocking. Even my parents don't think I'm a beautiful person, And I was like, what did we do? Because I've made other games before. Nobody cared to write me anything to say sex, right? Like, this is a game where we got hundreds of people who said, oh, I cried for this game. I never thought games can be about, can give me these emotions. And lots of people say that you should really turn these games into commercial games because the society or the world needs to know a game is not just violence and competition. So that's how we started thinking about entrepreneurship. But you can kind of see where I'm coming from, right? The whole reason we built TGC is to prove that games can be art. Games can be a positive movement. It could be as aspirational as any human art, like cinema, opera, music.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say it sounds like when I asked you, what is the opposite of gotcha for you? What is it you're going for? And that was like a really good answer for it's art, dude. Like it's just not it's not gotcha, it's art. And it sounds like you reached that. Sorry, Alex, it sounded like you were gonna ask a question. I totally jumped in.
No, that's totally cool. I just wanted to reflect on USC spinning up this game program and basically asking the students to build the demos to pitch to EA to get the funding to grow the program. and I think they got very lucky that you were in that class because it sounds like that all worked out pretty well.
I was just one of them, And later we have Ian Dallas that started, like Unfinished Swan and Edith Finch. He was like 1 year behind me. I think from that point on, after That Game Company, every year there's a startup of a game studio, like fresh out of school.
So what now? So was that so you sort of ended that thread with this is how we started thinking about entrepreneurship, but was that encouraged or part of the program or part of the vibe at USC at the time, or was this you basically going? No, well, we got a lot of people playing. We should keep this train going.
It's like the cinema school is a great school. I owe all my success to the school's education. One of the most important class to me, there's 3 classes that's most important, but one of the classes, how to say it, like entertainment, entrepreneurship, right? Like it's not really entrepreneurship. At the time, it's about how to pitch your movie to a studio or how to pitch your game to a publisher, get funding. It was taught by Bing Gordon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I really...
Okay, yes. For folks listening,
Sorry.
Bing was one of the early sort of founder employees of Electronic Arts. He's a partner at Kleiner Perkins. He's an early investor in Zynga. Lots of Midas touch moments in the game industry. If you're going to invite somebody to teach how to pitch your game to a publisher, he would be number 1 on the list. So it sounds like you got number 1 on the list there.
At the time, he was the chief creative officer at EA. Yeah, and so I owe the company's name, That Game Company's name, to Bing. Not that he suggested the name, but Bing is a very entertaining speaker. And he, one time he come to our lab, the Game Innovation Lab, he said, I recently play this game from Japan. I don't remember the name of it. It's that game that you wrote a garbage around. It's that garbage game. And it's called Katamari Damacy.
Yeah.
That garbage game.
Right. So when we were trying to come up, so our game is called Cloud at the school, and we need to register for the website, but we could not get any, cloud.com is very popular. It's already oversubscribed. So, and we were like, maybe we should change the name of this game, right? And then we were like, what would Bing call this game? Well, it's That Cloud Game, right? So we created thatcloudgame.com, easily getting the URL, right? And so when we made, our company, we were like, well, what's the company's name? We were like debating, and people say, well, if you call your game That Cloud Game, maybe you should just call your company That Game Company. That's how we got it.
We'll be right back. If you like what you're hearing, like and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And now, a word from our sponsors. Great games aren't just made, they're crafted. Pixel by pixel, idea by idea. Amber doesn't just develop games, Amber forges the future of play, one project at a time. From the magic makers at Disney to the tech giants at Amazon and Warner Media, the biggest names in the industry trust Amber to turn their wildest ideas into reality. Why? Because the talented teams at Amber believe in pushing every boundary, breaking every mold, and having a bit of fun while they're at it. Need a partner who knows the game and plays to win? Amber has the talent, the passion, and a global network that's ready to roll. So let's skip the loading screen and get straight to the action. Discover how Amber can power up your next project at amberstudio.com. Do you want your game to live forever? To supercharge it with immense powers of endless content, a buzzing gamer community, immortality, and coin? CurseForge for Studios, an exclusive service for visionary game developers, allows you to add safe, cross-platform mods to your game and enjoy all the benefits of user-generated content without any of the risks. With CurseForge for Studios, you can harness the creativity of our 165,000 devoted creators and the traffic of 43 million monthly gamers. You can also level up with premium mods and grant your game new revenue streams. Trusted by AAA studios, CurseForge for Studios is an immortality potion for your game. Enter studios.curseforge.com and join the UGC era. Leveling up your game dev career but not sure where to start?
Maybe you're trying to break into the industry, looking to connect with other people who are making games.
Consider joining the International Game Developers Association, the IGDA, the world's largest nonprofit, member-driven professional association serving all individuals who create games.
I was in the IGDA in Chicago, met a lot of people, great way to network.
The IGDA exists to support and empower game developers around the world in achieving fulfilling and sustainable careers.
Discounts,
Educational and advocacy-based resources,
mentorship.
and solidarity across 160 plus chapters.
To join the IGDA, visit igda.org/membership and use the code IGDA 4th Curtain 15, no spaces there,
To get 15% off 1- and 2-year memberships, as well as a student membership.
Joining the IGDA is a great move for your career, and as a nonprofit supporting everyone making games, it's a great move for the whole community. Join today. Hey listeners, it's Alex from the 4th Curtain.
And Darren here, we want to give a quick shout out to the team at High Vibe PR.
High Vibe PR is our boutique communications firm. They're all about companies and brands defining the future of gaming, entertainment, and culture.
Look, when you're doing something big, you need the right people to help you tell your story. And High Vibe PR, they're the best at making it happen.
Absolutely. They've helped us at Look North World level up our messaging, connect to the right audiences, and stay ahead of the curve in this ever-changing industry.
So, if you're looking for a PR partner who gets gaming and entertainment like no one else, check them out at highvibepr.com.
That's highvibepr.com. Go give them a look. You won't regret it.
And now, back to the show.
I love a good
name.
naming story.
It's a really good
That's
name.
hilarious. Oh, I think a lot of company names get chosen because of the availability of the URL.
Yeah.
We would have been Look North if that wasn't available, but Look North World was. So,
Wow.
all right. Well, very cool. So Bing basically teaches a class on entrepreneurship, and is
Yes.
that when your eyes get open to the possibility of like making this a thing?
I still have a pretty strong accent. My accent when I first came to the United States was horrendous. And 20 years later, I bumped into one of my film classmate. He secretly admitted to me, like, back then, we don't know what you're saying in class. Okay, so that's how terrible I was at speaking English. But this is a class about pitching video game project to the publishers, right? So we learn how to prepare the presentation. We learn how to like ask for budget and, how to pitch for the project. And being brought in all the executive from EA, so we're supposed to really pitch to the EA execs about game. And at the time, I pitched a project because I was such a Dune 2000 fan, so I was like really into the Dune universe. So I pitched a MMO. It's like pretty stupid idea because WoW is popular, it's making a lot of money. So I'm like, why do we have a MMO in the Dune world? It's still in the making. After 20 years, it's still not out yet. But the judge at the time really liked this idea. So I actually won the number 1 in the class. So that's what gave me some confidence that even though I don't speak good English, as long as a game is a good game, you can get money. That's very important because otherwise I would never believe I, as a young immigrant into the United States, can start a company and can ask for money. Like I would never know that. That's a huge, very important class that if the school didn't offer, I would probably just work for, EA.
Yeah. We hear that a lot, like your story about going to GDC and seeing a person get on stage to accept an award for a game that you liked, like the realization that, hey, that game I played, it's made by a person and there they are. Mm-hmm. Same thing with like being like organizing this pitch where you could actually get the experience and know what's possible. I think that's sort of like half of ambition is just knowing what you can even try to reach for.
Right? Like, I grew up, nobody around me did startup before. So you were asking me about Shanghai, right? Like, nobody. We were just like, which company do you work for? How much money do you make? Oh, you make this money? Okay, you're successful, right? That's like the back then our old way of thinking. Not until more people who took Silicon Valley's startup kind of mentality back in China. People really see a founder exist and the media exposed to it, and now it's like frenzy in China. Yeah.
Do you go back
entrepreneur.
there? Like, how do you still have family in Shanghai? Do you go back?
I go back last year. I went back, but not during COVID.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really travel to China, but besides just to promote our game, our current game, Sky Children of Light, is pretty popular in China, surprisingly. Yeah. So I have to go back to promote it as a kind of the creator of the game.
I imagine it feels very, very different now, like when you go to Shanghai than when you were growing up.
Oh yeah, I mean the building probably thickened. Like I call these buildings like concrete forest. The jungle is thickened after I returned probably 3 times or 4 times.
Are your parents proud now? Did you have a successful game in China?
See, like my parents were proud when we win 6 BAFTAs, and Game of the Year. They don't. The Chinese don't care about their own awards. The Chinese local awards, they don't care. They care about the Western awards,
okay,
the prestiges. My dad's dream is for me to be a professor, so he cares about the prestige, not the financial stuff. Yeah.
All right. So your games are a little different from the mainstream, as you described. How do you make a game? How does Jenova make a game? Like, where do you start?
So our approach is to, create art and create art that can reach to many people. And so if you really think about like, what's the difference between an art piece and a product? A product is trying to please its users, where art piece has a voice. And I think I was involved with Annapurna Games, the founding of Annapurna Game Interactive. And we were talking about like, how do we pick a project from millions of like indie games? Like which one do we pick? And we say it's unapologetically personal. Because the art comes from your heart. You have a strong thing to say, and you use this medium to say it, right? It could be an emotion. It could be a message. Like it could be like a political, like activism, but it's really, you're using this medium to say something that is meaningful. Where if you make product, you're just trying to see what people like, right? So it's all about like trying to make as many people like it as possible, but sometimes you lost it. And that's what we kind of see at the time in AAA games is there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And it's very massive. It's like a giant choir singing, but they are not well rehearsed. You couldn't hear a word. It's just like hundreds of people walked out for 3 years or 5 years. Very massive. It's impressive. It's expensive, but you have no idea what they're trying to say. Where compared to some of the smaller game or well-directed, well-orchestrated choir, they harmonize with each other. They vibrate the entire house. Everybody can hear what they're trying to say. And that's what directing is if you can make hundreds of people singing the same song, then you can touch people. So for me, what we're trying to push for, the advantage of indie is you only have like 7 people in the team. It's very easy to harmonize and create a very strong, memorable song.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, how big is your team now? It's got to be more than 7 people. I was going to ask that.
Yeah. And are you a remote? Or are you like on site?
So yeah, Cloud was made by 6 or 7 people, and Journey started with 7 people. We shipped it when we were only 12 people. So Journey was basically just, one artist, one animator, like one engine person, one gameplay engineer, one tool. It's like one of everything. It's like a skeleton. When we shipped Sky, the dev team is 25 people. So we're trying to keep the development team very small. But now the company is almost 200. And with 200, it's kind of like how Blizzard scale up, right? It's like you need custom service now. You have so many players. You need like server scaling person. You need community management. You need all these additional publishing support people. Is very quickly grow. I think half of the company, 100 people, has nothing to do with building the game. It's all about promoting, supporting,
operating, and publishing. Yeah, right. That makes sense.
And so now Sky is a live operation game where we make updates every six weeks for 5 years. So Sky's core team is about 60, and we have a new game that's about 40. So
cool. Do you want to say anything about the new game, or is it totally top secret?
It's still before any announcement. So
all right. Well,
where's this?
Go ahead, Aaron.
So I was going to ask, where's the studio at? Are you remote, or are you is everyone?
So we were in the back lot of Santa Monica DMV for a long time until COVID hit.
Oh,
yeah, COVID hit, and we heard the news from China because my family was like, "Yeah, this is serious." So we closed the office as soon as we heard about COVID, and then we know it's going to be a long time, so we just shut down the office. And now the company, I think at the time of 2020, we were about 40 people. And then during COVID, we expanded to now 200 people. Everybody's hired from everywhere.
Wow. Okay.
So fully remote. That's amazing.
Full remote studio. We have no office right now. I'm trying to find a new office just so we can do more group meetings.
Well, that's impressive, running a 200-person shop all remotely.
Actually, a lot of people tell me how ineffective it is, right? Like they could compare before when they were in the office and then after they worked remotely. But for me, I couldn't feel it because we hired everybody during the remote. So that's basically...
You don't have anything to compare to. Yeah.
Yeah, we could be very inefficient, but we just don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, very interesting. We had a large studio remote. I found it to have some good things, some challenge. Now our studio it's very small again. We're about 15, but still remote. And I think we're in much better shape now, possibly because it's smaller. I don't know, but really interesting. But going back to how you make a game, like your games are visually very striking, gameplay sort of non-traditional. Like,
sorry,
do you
Alex,
like?
I meandered. I should answer
No.
actual questions.
No. Everything that you're saying is amazing.
That's great.
So I just want more. But where do you start with imagery? Do you start with I want to try this mechanic out, or you were describing how you're artist and you're programmer, so you kind of can put the two together. Like where does it start? What's the nugget that you start?
So I think the game design is like cooking in the kitchen, and you certainly have to be a good engineer to know how to control the fire and everything, but you kind of have a instinct. It's like, I want some new taste. I want something people have never tried before. Then you have some instinct because in the old media, like in film or in theater or in a Disneyland, something made you feel something strong. And that was through certain combination of sound and music and visual, right? So you kind of draw your personal memories of the things you've seen as an inspiration. But usually I would start with an image and I will work with a composer. I don't know how to compose music, but I think music is the highest resolution emotional communication medium. Words are like 8-bit images with pixels, right? If I say the wrong word, you will misunderstand me. But like poetry in words is like the really nicely made pixel art, right? You just made some squares, but oh, that's a skeleton, like you're guessing through in between the words. But music is high resolution. It's such the strongest emotional medium. So I will start with some imageries, and I will give the imageries to the composer. I say, can you make something based on this feeling I described to you and this image I present to you? And then the composer will make music, and then we will tweak the music until the music feels right. Then I will give this music to the rest of the team. I said, that's the feeling I'm going for. Just listen to it, right? It helps them to imagine. That's usually how the earliest creative is. Like, you got the visual and your music, and then you start make people immersed in that emotion, and then hopefully that emotion will flow through their hands into something like in the levels, and certainly in game mechanics. The mechanics is the hardest because game, compared to any medium, is the youngest medium. A lot of people haven't quite figured out the full vocabulary of games yet. And so where I was trying to say, hey, in games, we get lots of action adventures you see in films, right? Action adventures and horror, right? Film has horror, game has horror. But what about, black comedy in video games? You rarely see it. That's why we picked Edith Finch, The Vanishing of Edith Finch, right? Because that's the first time I was like, wow, this is like funny, but also really dark. I've never tasted this in the game before. Let's make this game, like all other comedy games in the early days, everybody's talk about Monkey Island, right? The comedy comes from the dialogue. It's not from the gameplay. The gameplay is a click and explore adventure game. So the gameplay needs to be funny. That's how it's a funny game genre. Game is interactions, right? So when I first came to America in 2000, I was like, there's no comedy in video games. Until somebody finally made Goat Simulator. I'm like, okay, that's the first chapstick, funny gameplay, right? And then it gets a little bit more sophisticated, like the Entitled Goose Game.
Right.
Now it's like comedy between human relationships, right? And then it gets a bit more interesting. I think we're just getting started on the comedy trajectory for games. But then, like, what about romantic comedy? Nobody ever done that. If someone make that, it will be a successful game.
Wait a second. Is this your 40-person secret project? Are you doing a rom-com?
No. I'm not a very
dark
romantic person.
rom-com.
a funny, dark, vibey rom-com. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
but then
just super interesting. Yeah.
What about romance? Like, romance is so popular among women. Men hate it, right? So romance, I was like, I can't imagine I would make a romantic film, but someone who did it will be very successful. And then there's this company in China called Paper Games. They are like specialized in romantic games, and their revenue outshines Tencent's game at sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So it's just like, if you use the landscape of film and novels or music, there's a genre for every demographic. But for video games, why is there a Gamergate? Because all the games that we heavily developed that becomes a red ocean market is all in the male demographic,
Yeah.
But the female, like I mentioned, comedy, rom-com, how big rom-com is it? Sitcom, like they don't exist in games. And I think the closest thing I can find in the Western market is like episodes. Do you know episodes? It's an
yes.
right?
Yeah. I think maybe The Sims fills a little bit of that void for
Sims
for
was the
some
only
players.
Sims was the only game during the PC era that was facing female, because it's a single player social game.
Right.
It's your sitcom simulator.
Right.
And I mean that's why, like, we have such a bias, like towards the male gamers because the content wasn't there for emotionally accessibility to a larger audience.
Yeah.
So
that is super insightful. And I got to say, I'm blown away by your description of your process, that you start really with an emotion, with a mood, and you describe it with music. That's amazing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
How far do you take that before there's something playable? Like I know you say the mechanic is the hardest part, but that journey, for lack of a better word, from hey, here's some imagery, here's a mood and an emotion that I'm going for, here's it expressed with music, from that point to okay, now there's a thing that's playable, let's touch it. Like, how is that a really long process that goes back and forth, or
it takes a lot of time. Unfortunately, a good story do not come together if you didn't iterate at least 4 times. And I heard in Pixar, usually their film has to go through it 5 to 7 times before it's actually seen by the public. That's how they're so good. They've been iterating and perfected for 5, 6, 7 rounds. And lately, there are a couple of films at Pixar that they didn't survive 5 rounds because, budget and COVID and everything. You can see the quality difference. So it's one thing to have the initial, like what we call it, like the overture, like you have like a minute-long music that describe the feelings, but then it's years to break it down into an emotional roller coaster that's going to deliver something even stronger than the initial taste. And for video games, Journey is a classic example. Initially, we want to deliver this amazing climax in the end. You're flying through, because the whole time you're walking, you're flying through the mountain, right? So we made this amazing video of a person flying through the mountains, and so we put a roller coaster ride there. Like it's a rail. You're flying through all the perfect shots. But when you actually play it, it's boring as hell. Because you have no engagement. You're just like, when is this going to be over? So you have all these dreams how the visuals and sounds going to work, but then once you put your hands on it, it's like it's not climatic at all. I have more agency when I was actually surfing around than this final flying on the rail thing, right? So then you realize, you just didn't know because it's a new thing you're trying to do, and not until you put it together you realize this is not working. And then we spend like 1 extra years, like how are we going to make this final climax more climatic, interactively, right? And that requires you, before the climax there was the lowest low, right? So you can have this sensation of lift. So you actually have to first press down the low so low that then the high seems higher, right? And so then the question from like initially, how we going to make this climax more exciting is like, actually, no, you got to make the moment before that so depressing. So not, so you can see why at the end of Journey, you're pushing the stick like 1 step at a time, to compel that to like, okay, I fly freely, it's 360 degree. It's, that's you create that drastic climax of gameplay.
Contrast,
yeah. So I used to joke at the time, before, when we were making Journey, we were like, like, why is every racing game start racing with crappy cars, and then the car gets better, and so the emotional trajectory is like normal driving, faster driving, faster driving, faster driving, faster driving, right? But then we human beings are like the frog in the boiling water. If we go into an elevator, if the elevator just rise and rise and rise and rise, you don't feel anything. Like we only feel the change of acceleration. So if an elevator suddenly stops, you feel something, right? And that's why in most of the AAA game at the time, the only moment you remember is when they screw up or when they suddenly change something, not for like dramatic reasons. So we say like Call of Duty Modern Warfare is very memorable. Everybody remembered shoot. What? I cannot shoot anymore? That's what people talk about. Yeah. Right. But lately, the industry catch up, right? Nowadays, if you play a racing game, you don't start racing poor cars. You start racing the fastest cars. It's like James Bond opening. It's like, I'm racing. And then suddenly, okay, now you're back to your poor cars.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in a class. Like you being a really good professor. Your dad is on to something, man. I'm like learning here. It's great. I'm inspired. It's awesome.
Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about going back down to USC and teaching a class? Maybe you have.
I have a Master of Fine Arts degree. I can teach with that degree, right? Yeah. But I think, once you learn from the school, then one of our professor, Mark Bolas, right? He was teaching our thesis class. He said, "You guys are a bunch of losers. You paid so much money and 3 years of your most excellent life to spend your time here, right? Are you just expecting to get a job out of this? If that's your goal, you already lost. You wasted your time. You throw a bunch of money away just to get a job. You could have gotten that from the college degree. You're here for the master's. You're here to be the expert. You're here to push the boundary of the industry. If you don't do that, you're wasting all your money and time." And that was like, whoa, never thought about that.
All right. I don't know if you're still good on time. I have like one more question I want to ask you.
Sure.
Okay. So I read, I don't know where I read this, might have been on your Wikipedia. Somebody listed 2 of your favorite games as Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yes. To me, I would never thought games can be art if I didn't play these 2 games. Mm. And so Fumito Ueda is like my hero. And I finally had a chance to meet him. It was very nervous. I was like very nervous to see my hero. But his game is the first game that really touched me deeply. And when I meet Fumito Ueda-san, I was asking him like, how did you? Because he's basically the first commercial game that is having the artistic pursuit, right? I was asking like, why does he do that? How did he come to that realization? Because before that, there's nobody, right? And he said, I have a fine art degree, but when I graduated was the big Japan economic shakedown. He couldn't find any job in the art industry. So he decided to work on video games. And games in Japan is really low when it comes to respect from the society, because a lot of these game companies like Sega, they used to run pachinkos, right? They're like
right.
mafia, And so he felt like he was like joining a terrible industry just to make a living. And I said, but you made art. He's like, no. My game is not art. He's a really humble person, and but to me, as someone who doesn't know better, that's art,
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I love those games too. And when I read that, it kind of connected a dot for me, like especially Eco and the games that you make have an emotion, in common. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Art is really. A lot of people say art uses lie to tell the truth. It's truthful in the heart, but visually and audio, it's nothing like reality. Right.
Love that. All right, Jenova, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This really was an inspiring conversation.
Very inspiring.
I'm honored that you spent some time with us. It's great to get a chance to meet you and hang out. Thank you.
It's fun to talk about the things that I'm really passionate about. So thank you for giving me the chance to, talk about this.
Right on. Well, best of luck with what's coming next, and we'll see you around.
See you, Jenova.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Fourth Curtain Podcast. Visit us at thefourthcurtain.com to find our monthly newsletter and support the show via Patreon. The Fourth Curtain Podcast is a production of Fourth Curtain Media. Lovingly edited by Bryen Hensley of Noise Floor Sound Solutions. Production support by Mei Lee with community management by Doug Zartman and art production by Paul Russell. Thanks again for listening.